Who am I? One day, in darkness, a shadow felt safe, but its mind was troubled. Like most things that exist, it was complicated. So the shadow decided to leave the darkness to find an answer to the question that has been bouncing up and down in its brain. Who am I? The first thing the shadow came across outside the darkness was a rock. So the shadow asked the rock, "Who am I?" And the rock replied, "Well, you're just like me. You're hard, you're rigid, you like to stay put, and you don't get why everybody hates Mondays." So the shadow thought, "Oh yeah, I do." So the shadow left to now enjoy the morning. But then an hour passed, and the shadow was troubled again. The shadow came across a tree that was swaying in the wind. The shadow asked the tree, "Who am I?" And the tree replied,
"Well, you're just like me. You're tall, you're flexible, and you like to feel the sunrise on top of your head."
"I do," thought the shadow, and the shadow left to make trumpet noises by itself. But then after making a soundtrack of trumpet noises to a movie that doesn't exist, the shadow was troubled again. The shadow then met a cheese pizza. The shadow asked the pizza, "Who am I?" The pizza replied, "Dude, you're a dude like me. You like to hangsies with your friends, you like to have parties, and you think people that don't like you are crazy." The shadow was like, "Duh, dude," and the shadow left to think about dinosaurs. After getting tired of thinking about dinosaurs and dinosaurs wearing jeans, the shadow was troubled again. The shadow ran into an old boat in the middle of a dried up lake. So the shadow asked the old boat, "Who am I?" And the boat replied, "You seem a lot like me, dried up, rotten, and you regret not going downstream when you had a chance." And the shadow thought, "Oh, that's right, isn't it?" So the shadow left to try to find a cold patch of ground to lay on. The shadow was troubled again. He felt even more troubled than he did in the darkness. Just then a cloud floated by in the sky. The cloud asked the shadow, "Who are you?" I'm not sure," said the shadow. "The rock says I'm like a rock. The tree says I'm like a tree. The pizza says like I'm pizza, and the boat says I'm like a boat." "Oh, I see," said the cloud. "You do?" asked the shadow. "Then do you know who I am?" The cloud cheerfully replied, "Ah, I do. You're just like me." The shadow grew mad and yelled back, "And what are you like?" "Well," said the cloud, "to a rock, I look a lot like a rock. To a tree, I look a lot like a tree. To a pizza, I look a lot like a pizza. And to a boat, I look a lot like a boat." The shadow was confused and asked, "What are you?" The cloud took a long think and said, "Well, I thought about this for a long while. I think I'm all of those things. But at the same time, I'm none of those things. Often I feel like none of those things. Like nothing," said the shadow. "So do I," said the cloud. "But then I remember I can be in everything. Though what is even more strange, when I feel like in everything, I think it's more important to remember then that you can be in nothing." "Thanks," said the shadow, "but I still don't feel like I know who I am." Then the cloud thought even longer and said, "Well, what did you do today when you weren't asking or thinking, 'Who am I?'" The shadow smiled and said, "But once I was making trumpet noises for a movie that doesn't exist." "There you have it," said the cloud. "So I'm a thing that makes trumpet noises?" asked the shadow. "No," said the cloud, "but when you're making trumpet noises, that's all you have to be." "Oh," said the shadow, who was now a little confused, but not troubled. "You know I like to make sounds like a drum," said the cloud. "Oh yeah? Then give me a beat," said the cheerful shadow. So the shadow and the cloud spent the rest of the day pretending like they were a ska band in the mid-90s. The end.